you're going to be a Marine officer. And I said, well, what does all that take? He said, well, you know, unlike the Army or the Air Force, he said, it's only going to take you 10 weeks and you can become a Marine lieutenant. And I said, well, how hard is it? He said, oh, it's not hard at all. And I said, well, what if I don't make it? And he said, well, we got physical fitness that you got to take, and then you got to take some classes, and you got to take some exams, but you'll be okay. And I said, yeah, but just tell me what happens if I don't make it. So he said, well, if you don't make it, you got to give us 2 years as an enlisted man. You're going to make it, and you'll give us 3 years as an officer. And I said, okay, fine. So I ended up going to Quantico. That's where the Marine officer training was. And it was in the dead of the winter in Quantico, Virginia. And I mean, I almost froze to death out there. But I got through it. And of course, the next best thing that was coming about was Vietnam. So I had to go to Vietnam. And I did my time there. And when I got out of Vietnam, I decided, hey, you know what? I got to think about doing something else because now I got to get out. I got a wife. I got a couple of kids now, and I got to provide for them. So I used my GI Bill, and I went to law school. I went all the way back to Louisiana, went to law school. And when I graduated from law school, I had a job here in Fort Worth, all right, at the Securities and Exchange Commission. So I spent 3 years with the SEC, and I opened up my own practice, spent 18 years practicing law. And then I got appointed to the bench by then Governor George Bush. And I spent 29 years on the bench, handling all types of cases. But it was a good experience. I enjoyed what I did, and I just had a great time. Now, as we get older, we know we have to move on at some period of time. And so last year, it was my time to leave, and I decided, hey, it's time to go. And that's what I did.
And now I need to say something about that. We'll talk about the judicial system, but for your information, in the Tarrant County Criminal Courts building, that's the Tim Curry building, there are 0 African-American district court judges. There are 0 criminal district judges, county criminal judges. And there is 1 out of 15 criminal magistrates which are appointed. Now, Judge Savant and Judge Stearns were voted in by the citizens. They were appointed initially. I mean, Judge Savant was appointed, Judge Stearns was appointed, but he ran. But they were elected positions, so the people voted them in. Magistrates are not voted in. They are considered by the judges. So as it appears now, audience, we have no people of color, not Black judges that are at the table to determine those judges that are called magistrates, which are not elected by the people. And so they are going to tell you how important it is that you vote. And you vote your choice. We don't tell you how to vote, but use that one vote that you have under the Constitution and exercise it. All right. So, Judge, and then I will come back because I want to ask the judges about some famous cases that they handled, and you may not have known they were the presiding judges. So, and they have represented us well. So we're going to move on to Judge Louis Stearns. And Judge Stearns, tell us something. I know Judge Stearns was on the phone. All right. And he's going to tell us about that. And he's going to tell you how you need to keep land if it's in your family, how important it is. Okay, Judge Stearns.
Thank you, Bobby. First of all, let me thank Bobby. Am I on?
Yes.
and thank the owners of the bookstore here for 17 years of service to this community. It's truly impressive. I grew up in a small community, really surrounded by relatives. It's a community called Fairview, which is in deep East Texas, deep segregated East Texas. Practically everybody in that community were related to me. It was a community of about roughly 150, 200 people. And what I recall is that my parents had us working from that high on up. Even when I was too young to pick cotton, I rode on a cotton sack with my mother while they picked cotton. And when I got a little older, they tried to teach me and get me to pick cotton, and I picked a little cotton, but I wasn't very good at it. I was the youngest of 4 boys that my mom and dad had, and being the youngest, I chose to stay in the house as much as I possibly could. I didn't mind it that my brothers said that I was a mama's boy. I wanted to be there because I didn't want to be out in that hot sun with my dad, who very moody, but like your dad, he was a big man. My dad was 6'3", about 235, 240 pounds, ex-Marine in World War II. So he was the kind of person that insisted upon, he and my mom, all of us, working hard. But I chose to be that one boy in the family, with no girls. I chose to be that one boy who would stay in the house, and I could clean the house better than any woman. I never learned how to cook, but I can clean and I can earn. But it allowed me time also to do what I really wanted to do. That was to read and learn. I grew up, as I said, in a segregated community. I was aware of the Brown versus Board of Education case, which was decided when I was 5 years of age. And I was aware of the Civil Rights Bill, 1965, and the Public Accommodation Act. And I wanted to make sure that my rights are vindicated. So what did I do? Well, when I was in the 10th grade, me and one of my cousins, we went to the county seat of Henderson, and we decided we were going to integrate a little cafe. That didn't go over too well. They told us they were not going to serve us. And so we decided that we were going to go and seek redress by talking to folks in power. We went to the courthouse to speak with the county attorney. County attorney wouldn't talk with us. Went to speak to the county judge, he wouldn't speak with us. So we left there being very disappointed. But it ignited something in me that was already there, and that was a desire to be a lawyer. And at that point in my life, I decided I was going to be a civil rights attorney. I had the good fortune of meeting the only black lawyer I ever known, because you got to understand, down in East Texas where I was from, there were very few black professionals. Most people were like my dad, farmers, people who worked in the pulpwood industry, or had some kind of laboring job, and like my mom. But there was a black lawyer from Houston named Matthew Plummer who came up to East Texas to speak at one of the small churches. And I had the good fortune to be introduced at age 13 to Mr. Plummer. And that was inspirational to me. So I was determined from that point on, and given my experience with the restaurant, that I was going to be a lawyer. But, I was still so interested in integrating things, I did something else. I was in the 11th grade, I believe it was, when I and 2 of my other classmates decided we were going to go to the white school and integrate it. Now, we didn't talk to our parents. They had no idea that I was going to do that. So we went up there to the road, and they were polite, took that little information, sent us away. that evening, before 5 p.m., the principal of my high school, our black principal, was at my house, wanting to speak to my daddy. But daddy was way back in the woods, in the field working, and the principal had us to go get daddy, and I knew what was coming. And he asked Dad, do you know what that boy of yours did today? And Dad said, well, no, what did he do? He went up there and tried to integrate the school in Langville. Yes, you do that, son? Yes, sir. I said, well, Dad, that's the law. We're supposed to be able to do that. He said, well, you're right. It's the law, but we're not going to do it this year, son. You need to back off. But my parents they were very interested in education. And they were the type of people who stood for something. When the school district there decided that they were going to bus us from our little community to the county seat of Henderson, not to an integrated school, but to another segregated black school, that's when my parents became angry and said, not our kid. But they didn't just say that. They did something about it. They purchased a school bus. They and 3 other black parents purchased a school bus. And in my junior year of high school, well, actually my senior year of high school, and I just turned 16. I and my 17-year-old cousin were the school bus drivers. We drove the kids to school from our community to the high school where we were attending. Kids who were in grade 1 through 12. We were their drivers, and I can tell you we never had a single incident. Wow. Those kids were well behaved, and we made it through that year. But that was the kind of parents that I had. They were very independent people. They weren't highly educated. Both mom and dad only had a 9th grade education. But I can tell you this, they were the kind of people who were very ambitious, who made certain that each of their 4 sons attended college and we all graduated from college. They were the kind of parents who made sure that we all understood the value of hard work and discipline, because you got to have that to be successful in life. My father went on to become the first African-American to serve on the school board down there. So they were people who were interested in community development, community involvement. And Bob, you alluded to the land issue.
Yes.
Land is so important to us in our family. As I said, the community consists of folks who are related to me, basically. And the whole community really was owned by three gentlemen or 3 families. My grandfather on my mother's side, my grandfather on my dad's side, and 1 other man. And so the word that my dad told us years ago was that whatever you do, do not sell your land.
Yes.
This is our legacy. This is who we are as a people. And God don't make any more land. Okay? So you hold on to your land. You would never be poor if you own land.
Yes.
And that's the lesson that we spend a lot of time every year at our annual family gathering, teaching our children and our grandchildren. You hold on to your land because it's your legacy. It's who we are.
And Judge, that is so important, and that is important. That is another reason. Talk to your living grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Find out the story. And then if you have land, do not let it go for taxes. Somebody in that family needs to preserve that land. Now, Black people do not like to probate. That means take it to court and find out who owns what porch. So you may have 100 people, but at least 1 or 2 people need to stand up to preserve that land. Like just says, there's no more land. And it's valuable because it's not just the top surface of the land. It's the bottom of the land. You may have timber on the land. You may have water on the land. And people are looking, these contractors today are looking for land to build. So keep your land. And Judge Stern said something else too about driving the school bus. uh, in that way, what about us now collaborating with each other to form partnerships, to form corporations, or just going to preserve and work together? What we hear here is that they purchased a school bus and they dictated who was going to be the driver of the school bus. And what we hear from Judge Stearns, they couldn't say no. But he said they did it and the students were obedient. And so now, today, a lesson for young people. They didn't have technology stuff. They didn't have the opportunity, and it was a good way of bringing up. Like you're saying, no, I'm not going to do this. Well, you're still a minor. And we really need to impress upon either parents, impress upon our young people that they have rules to follow. There are house rules, there are rules outside the house, there are laws that Judge Savant and Judge Lewis Stearns made sure that if you don't follow them, then you may go to jail or you will be arrested. You may get off. But and Judge and Miss and Reverend Moody also gave us that lesson. They were disciplined. They knew if they just Savant told a lie, they would be in trouble. And how about you? You are parents now. You know when your child is lying. And now I got to divert a little bit. School. We have all these problems in the schools. Parents, you know if your child is lying, when they come home to tell you something, they're making it very difficult for the principals like Miss Helen Curtis, who spent many years being a mother at the school for the kids, and other educators. You know when your child is disobedient at home, they're going to be disobedient in elsewhere. You know when they're disrespectful. So let's just teach those values like the judges up here and Reverend Moody had, the values of integrity, because there's no value on integrity that comes under the umbrella of being honest and doing the right thing, treating each other with humanity, with respect. And so I'm sure we're going to move along with now Reverend Moody. After I can tell you back in those days because I talked to Judge Davis. Judge Davis met his wife. In 6 months they were married. Nowadays, what they have? Shacking. We just dating. And then the entertainment world is the worst world to be models now. Nobody hardly gets married, and we applaud those that are married for numbers of years because they believe in the family. Now, I'm going to ask Reverend Moody, how did he find his bride? I'm going to ask each one of them because, that's a lesson on selecting the proper mate. And these gentlemen, all of these have long marriages, so they select the proper mate, okay? How did you meet that wonderful lady in the audience?
Okay, let me first tell you how long we've been married. This year, August, will be 67 years. I met her again. Those are some of the things that make me know that when things happen to you that seem to be negative, you don't like it. But in the end, it brings something good. Excuse me. I was singing in a quartet group, and we were in Stop 6 area. And my car got stolen that Friday night. Now that's negative. Couldn't afford another car. And I had just bought me a new ring and a watch. Instead of having it on, I had it in my glove compartment. So that's the only thing they kept. I found my car. Well, make a long story short, that's how I met my wife. I was working with her brother-in-law. And he had been trying to get me to meet his sister-in-law. I'm 19 years old. I ain't interested in no girls at that time. I had enough acquaintances. I had enough friends. I didn't want to meet nobody else. But here's what happened. That morning, I bought my uncle's car, and I was riding around looking to see if I could find my car. Just so happened, I met on Amanda Street, I met her brother-in-law going to his mother-in-law's house because his wife had just had a baby. And he stopped me and he said, "Where you going?" I said, "Man, I'm looking for my car." And the way I knew him, we worked together. That's how I knew him. And I said, "I'm looking for my car." And he said, "I thought that was your car over there in the field behind me. Just show you how things line up." I said, "Well, take me to it, man." He said, "No." He been trying to get me to meet his sister-in-law. He said, "No, come on down here. Go on down to my mother-in-law's house and use the phone down there and call the police." Well, he finally talked me into it, and I went down there. I was sitting in their living room, and this little lady walked through washing. It's on wash day, and on a little tight blue jeans. And I forgot about my stolen car. And that's how we met. And because he had given me the phone number, but I would never call her. I wasn't interested in trying to meet more people. I didn't have any money. Back in 50, that was in 50, first part of the last part, 58. People like me, young people like me, if you got a job and you're making $1 an hour, now $1 an hour, you wouldn't even walk out the front door for $1 now. But that was going rate. And I said, I can't afford to have no girlfriend because I can't afford to pay my little rent now. I was living with my uncle and I was paying him $10 a week to stay there. So I said, I can't afford it. So when I did meet her next week, I went to work, and that Monday he said, "What do you think about my sister-in-law?" I said, "She's all right." I'm still not gonna let him know that I was looking at her. And so it went on, and I went home. And I think about Wednesday or Thursday that week, I was just sitting around the house, in my uncle's house, sitting in my room, and I looked up and I had a phone number up there on the dresser. And inside, some say, "Call her." I got on the phone, I called her, and she played like she didn't know nothing about me. I said, "I was at your house Saturday." "I don't remember seeing you." That was where we started. From then on, and they had a little Dairy Queen or something over there on Rosedale. I forget what the name of it was. Get ice cream. I picked her up that weekend and took her and got some ice cream. And that's the story.
You know, hey, that's how it happened then. And how long did you all date?
Met her in December, and we married in August. December of 58. We married in August of 59.
All right.
Well, about 8 or 9 months.
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
Less than a year. Now, Judge Southend, what about you with meeting your wife? Or, yes.
Yes, I was in school at the time. I was pledging a fraternity, and one of my fraternity brothers told me that they wanted me to meet this young lady. And I said, okay. So he brought me by, and that was the beginning of a long relationship. And one of the things that had happened was in my senior year, I got engaged. And her father wasn't too happy about it. And I can understand now because if I was trying to get engaged, if one of my children, somebody came up and wanted to get engaged with my daughter, who was only 19 at the time, I'd have a problem with that too, probably. But in any event, he agreed, but he wanted to be a long engagement. Well, I was graduating from school and I had a job in Chicago. And so I told my wife to be that I was going to be leaving, going out to Chicago. And so she said, well, I'm coming too. I said, well, I don't think your dad's going to really agree with that right now. And I think in his mind, if I got to Chicago, I probably was going to see some other young ladies. And I probably would not want to get married at that time. That's probably his thought process. But my soon-to-be bride had a different mind of her own, of course. And so we eloped. I got to Chicago and I sent a ticket for her to fly out, and one of my fraternity brothers drove her to the airport, and she flew out to Chicago, and that's where we got married in Chicago.
Wow. Did her daddy know she was getting married?
He found out when he came home and she wasn't there. And my brother said, "I think she's gone to Chicago to be with that guy." That was, and next month will be 58 years ago.
Congratulations. Yes. And Jeff Stearns.
Well, I wish I could tell you that my wife, that I selected my wife. She selected me. My wife came to my law office for legal services. And I said, I don't like this one. And, you know, that was our introduction. So she selected me.
Oh.
And I provided the legal services, we dated. And then funny thing, we became engaged just at the time when I was appointed to the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. We had not agreed upon a date for the marriage. We were in the governor's office, speaking with the governor, Bill Clements at the time. And I introduced Mel, my wife, to the governor and told him that she was my fiance and we were going to get married. And he said something to me that Marilyn teased me about to this day. He said, "You mean she gonna marry you?" I said, "She better marry me." And I raised up out of my chair. And at that point, my wife said, for the first time, she realized that I was really serious and that we were going to get married and that we were going to get married soon.
Yes.
So that was in March of 1990. And on May 1st, 1990, we got married. And we've been married since that time.
Amen. Now, I want to direct this to the judges because as citizens, they presided over the benches in different courts for many years. And I want them to tell you all the importance of being a juror, and the importance and the distinction between being a grand juror. And so our people, a lot of times, I know a lot of people ignore those summons when they have an opportunity to be part of the judicial system. So I'm gonna let them tell you why it is crucially important that you participate as a citizen, and it's free of charge.
It is very, very important that if you call upon to serve as a juror, that you do that. We found that a lot of citizens just don't want to serve for whatever reason. They don't think that they can make a difference. They think that it's time consuming, or they're just not interested. But in order for someone who's charged with a crime to have a real trial, a good trial, that person needs fair and impartial jurors to sit, listen to the evidence, and to make their decisions based upon that. Now, at one time, we as judges, criminal judges, had a right to pick out grand jurors. And grand jurors are just like regular jurors. It's just that we have a right to choose them and to have them to sit and have the prosecutors present the case to them to see if in fact uh, an indictment can come down. All right, and we call that a true bill. Uh, and I had an opportunity for many years to have my own grand juries, and I would go into the community and talk with some of the city leaders, the mayors, city council people. My wife was a State Farm agent, so I would talk to a lot of the State Farm people uh, to find me good, honest folks that would be interested in serving as grand jurors. That changed, the law changed because some folks down in Houston weren't doing it the right way. So the legislature decided to change it and just have grand jurors being chosen by your driver's license or voter's registration cards, things of this nature. But we still can interview them and decide who we think will be the best to sit on a grand jury. Now, as far as jurors, you will get in the mail a card telling you that you need to come in. We've had a lot of people that, try to avoid that, or try to call up and say that they're going to be tied up, they can't do it. But it's really important to have a good jury because, and you can do it. And all you have to do is come in, listen to the evidence as it is presented, and make a decision on whether or not that person is guilty or not guilty of this offense. And I tell everybody, don't avoid jury service. Look at that as a duty that's required of you for being a citizen of this county. You owe it to the county to do that. And we are always happy to have good people and never turn it down, okay?
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Let me add to that. I came to Fort Worth in 1976, having practiced law in the military for 3 years first. And from 76 until about 1985, I could never have a jury with even one black person on it. So I was trying cases with all white jurors. Now you can imagine how difficult that was. Walking to a courtroom representing a client who's black and poor usually, and everybody on that jury was white and from a different perspective. That only changed because the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a case that required prosecutors to stop excluding blacks from juries in 1984, 85. That's the only reason it changed. Before that, it was easy, because each side has, in a felony case, 10 strikes that they can use to eliminate or remove 10 people from the jury list for no, any reason whatsoever, basically. And they were using it for racial reasons, to exclude the blacks and the minorities from the juries. So you can imagine how tough it was and how bad it was for our people. Coming to the courtroom where folks didn't have any sense of fairness toward them. And I'm not sure if all those people were evil or anything like that. It's just the way they were brought up too. It was a culture because you needed minorities in that jury room to make them conscious of what was happening, to give them insight into what it's like to be a young black person growing up in Southeast Fort Worth. And to give that insight into what true justice looked like And that's why it's so important, as Judge Salmon said, that we have African American and all people serving on juries, because just your mere presence make the system work. So what you don't do is when you are called down there, first of all, like he said, don't ignore the call. Secondly, when you come in for jury selection, be careful the answers you give. Prosecutors, they love to play up on our religion. They love to have black folks say, well, I can't make a decision. Only God can make a decision. Only God can judge. Well, you say that, you're not gonna get on the jury. They just knock you off. And it's a legal reason to take you off. God obviously works through people here on earth. Reverend, I'm gonna preach right quick. God works through people. So you can't say that. Okay? Think about what you're saying. Because I can tell you there have been many cases where, I'm sitting there as a judge and I'm watching black folks get excluded because they give an answer that plays right at the hand of a prosecutor who has a mind to select a jury that doesn't include very many African Americans. But I can tell you that us being there, we were able to insist to the prosecutors in our courts that they not play those kinds of games. And because they knew we were looking at them to make sure that we had fair and impartial juries that reflected the racial composition of our communities.
And I wanted to just,
Let me just add one other thing about it. And here's what I found. The prosecutors, when I first got started from 29 years before, they had a distrust of black people as jurors. But what I found was that black jurors were some of the best jurors that I've had because they looked at those cases close and they made the proper decisions, right? And while I was there, the white prosecutors that I had in my court began to realize that, hey, these black jurors are really good jurors. I mean, I shouldn't try to exclude them, okay? My son is a lawyer, and when he has trials, he'll come back to me and he say, Dad, some of the hardest jurors that I've faced have been black jurors. He say, and I've had black clients and they just was hard on them as they on anybody else. I said, that's right. Because since these black jurors do have a big faith in God, they are going to make the right decision. They're not going to just vote to acquit somebody that they believe did wrong.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen. And I think the prosecutors now understand that. And we're not having that kind of problem like we had when Stearns and I first got started.
Yeah.
thank you. And look, our time is running, but I know the audience may have some questions. So we could go on and on with this one. I have more questions that I could ask, but I want to give you the opportunity because what? We're supposed to be over at 1 o'clock. And what did Judge Davis and what these judges said? Start on time, end on time. If you don't start on time, still end on time. And people will appreciate it. So are there any questions out there? Because it's a wealth of knowledge, experience, and you've gotten a lot of tips on just being a great human being.
Bobby, right here. We already ready.
All right, come on.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Beverly Lightfoot, and I am just happy to be here to support my father, Reverend Moody.
Right.
And to the judges, recently I have been getting summons not to go to, but to sign up for jury duty. And it says from the United States government. And because of my mistrust with them, I'm very, very reluctant to sign those documents and send it back in because I know how the old system was. You get the summons, you get the date, you get the location, and you go. Now they want my information, but I don't know what it's for, other than they're stating that it's for some kind of jury duty. So has the process changed that you know of, or do you have any information where I may be able to um, seek some kind of, information to realize that this may be something I need to sign up for, or should I just keep throwing it in the trash?
Okay, what you're talking about is federal service. And what the feds do now, they will send you that out. And they want you to fill it out and send it in. They have a list of people. Because when you're serving on the federal jury, a lot of times you're gonna be in state, we're gonna keep you as long as the trial is. Usually it's gonna be a week, or it might be 2 weeks. In federal court, it's different. They usually keep the list for 90 days or so. So if they call you up, you might be sitting in there because their trials might be longer. So I wouldn't avoid filling out the information. I'd make sure that it is for the federal court, all right, before I actually would do it. And if you have any information about that, just call the courthouse and see if that. Nowadays we have so much fraud going on. We have so much. I mean, if you look on your phone, I get something on my phone every day, especially at our age now. We'll get something about, hey, your bank wants all this information.
Yeah.
Don't give them that. I have to tell my wife all the time, just delete all that stuff. Because if somebody asks you for your social security number, or if they ask you for your bank information, or whatever code that you might use, don't do that. Because with the way everything is going now, there's just so much fraud going around that you have to be extremely careful. And it looks good. I mean, it'll look like. I recall getting a call telling me that, and it was actually from my phone company. I thought that it had the music that the phone company has, and it had all that kind of stuff. And they wanted one of my credit card numbers, to pay the phone bill. And I said, wait a minute. So I actually called the phone company. They said, no, that's the phone. I'm trying to get information from it. So y'all have to be careful about that. So if there's any question about it, you check with the courthouse, okay? You can call down there. They'll tell you.
And it's important that you, like the judges have said, if you have a question, it's probably gonna have the clerk's number on it. Call the clerk, and then you can validate if it's a genuine information. And then to talk about scams and stuff, that's a whole nother session that we could have just to inform you on the thousands of scams that are going out there. But like they've informed you, do not give your personal information. I don't care if you're young, don't give them your ID, none of that personal data, because it will be used in a fraudulent manner most often. You have to make sure. Don't do it. Call to get further information. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am, I see. Miss Rosie. No, ma'am. Oh, yes.
Me? Oh, T.
Oh, T, come on, T. T is a retired deputy sheriff.
And I was able to work in both of y'all's court.
Yeah.
But excuse my voice, I have allergies. It was some in the air yesterday that kicked in my allergies. But I want to know, first, I want to thank you all's families for sharing y'all with the public. This is very important to hear your Black history. But I also want to know, including Reverend Moody, to the judges, what are some of the important cases that stand out to you all? And I know Judge Stearns, I did a big botulism case with you, and that was pretty fun. And then Reverend Moody, what are some of the big events that stand out for you as well? And that's for all three of you all.
Okay.
And we'll give kind of brief answers because Judge, our time is running.
Okay, I'll be brief.
Okay.
Okay, well, my legal career, I've handled I've been involved in several cases that were pretty important to me. Before I retired as a judge, I guess probably the most significant case was the Court of Inquiry case where I was appointed by the Texas Supreme Court Chief Justice to conduct a court hearing into the question of whether a former prosecutor who later became a district judge had worked to wrongfully convict a man of murdering his wife. And I conducted that court of inquiry and held that the man, the judge at this point in time, had withheld evidence and committed some other acts and actually issued an order for him to be arrested, which led to some changes in the rules of discovery in the state of Texas. So that was probably the most significant case I had. But I also was fortunate enough to preside over the first DNA case that was tried in Texas. I did that. And early on in my private practice career, one of the cases I talk about that didn't get a lot of attention was the case where we filed the lawsuit to force the Tarrant County to redistrict. I filed that lawsuit for an attorney by the name of Don Gladden. It was called Bagby et al. Jim Bagby, Reba Carey, Gordon Brooks, Pam Dunlap. These were all our plaintiffs, and we filed a suit against the county in order to force them to redraw the commissioner's court line. And out of that case, we were able to get that sub courthouse on Middle Avenue built. So those are the three most important cases I think that I handled as a lawyer and as a judge.
And now you know who started it. So this is more information and history in the judicial system of Tarrant County. And that is why we need some diversity, Black judges now in the criminal system in Tarrant County. We don't have any, but we're working. So Judge Salvant, he has some famous one too.
I've had several cases, but one that comes to mind and I got the most press on, I think, TV press, was a case of a young boy that ran and killed 4 people and injured about 5 others on a roadway. And his defense was, it started out in juvenile court. His lawyers argued that he should be not held accountable because of the affluence of things. His parents were extremely rich and giving him so much money that he just didn't understand. Well, the juvenile judge at the time, after finding out that this kid had killed 4 people, gave him probation. And he was a young white kid. Now, when he turned 18, the case was transferred over to the district courts, and I got the case. And he was still doing things. He and his mother took off and ran to Mexico. And the only thing I could do at the time, since the juvenile judge had already given him probation, was I could violate his probation, but it had to go by what the juvenile court did. So what I ended up doing was I violated his probation. At the time, he could only get 2 years. But since he had killed 4 people, I could multiply his time. So I ended up giving him enough time that he could stay in the county jail for 2 years. And then I had him on probation for the rest of the time. And he understood that if he made one mistake, he was going to the penitentiary for 10 years time each case, which would have been 40 years. And I can tell you that he took me at my word because he didn't do anything else for that period of time. I had another case, which was a young rapper, a young Black rapper called TK, who had just produced a great song. I mean, all the kids loved his songs and everything, but he ended up killing a couple people, and then took off and went to New York, and that's where he was caught. And they brought him back here, and we tried his case, and he ended up getting a life sentence out of my court. But he had two killings that he was involved in, so he had to go down to San Antonio for his other case and end up getting a license down there. So, but many others, but those were the two that come out most important to me.
And then they are, yes.
I didn't understand what she was asking on.
Well, you probably, she was asking about cases, and the only one that you were really involved in was Judge Davis when you were 16 years old, and your parents say, do it.
That's right. That's all I can say about that.
And he learned, he obeyed the law, and he, in his ministry, got married to a wonderful woman that's here. And I want to thank everybody who has come out to glean some living history from these three gentlemen here. And let's give them a round of applause because we have been to
You're standing up, please. Oh my God, they deserve all of it.
yes, we have been enriched with something you will not find in the books. And that is why history will never be erased if we keep telling the story and sharing. And it's the great part of our education. It makes us strong, it makes us grow, and it makes us learn how to live with one another of all ethnicities, because we need one another. I guess Judge Stearns and Judge Savant and even Reverend Moody can tell you that they didn't make it all this way without some input from another ethnicity. So it is important that we learn to get along and live a godly way despite all the turmoil that we have in our lives today and our communities.
Bobby, I was in and out, going back and forth. Did you find out what is their favorite book that they think everybody must read? And we know the Bible.
I know which one. I know we want him to tell us his favorite. Every one of the, I want the judges and Reverend Moody to tell you their favorite book. Because we're in the bookstore and we promote reading is power. And so, Reverend Moody, you're first. We want to hear it.
She got mine. My favorite book is the Bible, but there's another book. I don't know if you have it here.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna work on it. Whatever you say, we're gonna put a list
Yes,
together.
that's right.
Robin Ledino, and she wrote a book about desegregated Mansfield. I think it's in
Right.
Mansfield segregation. And she has a lot of good information in that book. If you have it, you might want to read it.
Yes. Thank you. And then just Savant.
Well, I'm still dealing with politics, of course, and the book that I'm reading now is called The Room Where It Happened by John Bolton. And it talks about the Trump administration and how screwed up it is. So take a look at that, okay?
Thank you, Judge.
My favorite book is a book called Simply Justice. It's a real thick book, and I loaned it to some lawyer before I retired, who did not return it to me. And but it's a great book because it has a compilation of the various civil rights cases and background story that involved there, including the cases in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and all of them. And it's a wonderful book, Simply Justice.
And I want to say too that everyone is a mentor. The judges that are here, Reverend Moody, you are mentors to us as the younger generation. You are mentors to people even at your own age. You can be a mentor being the same age. And so I want to impress upon our young people, and we are so glad that the grandchildren are here. Any other young people in the audience? And I can tell you, I had a conversation with his granddaughters for the October for the NAACP, and when they were showing Unlocked Voices, which is a documentary, and if you get an opportunity to listen at that, they're doing it free to churches and to community centers. We want to get it in the schools. Please take partake in that. But the young daughter, the grandkids, and we were taking pictures, and people were coming up to Reverend Moody, and then I was there. And then these two beautiful teenagers standing there, and then this one of them said, "Granddaddy, you famous?" And then I just answered. I said, "Yes, he's famous." I said, "He made some great advances, and everybody's talking about him." So yes, your grandfather is famous, and education. That's what he was involved in, and he's spreading that throughout his family. And we're so glad that the family is here. Miss Dorothy is just such a wonderful person. And I have to say, Miss Helen Curtis, would you please stand? An educator extraordinaire. She was the principal of Dunbar, North Dunbar Sixth Grade Center. But she was one that cared for the education of the kids. So, Mom, you sent your child acting crazy. They were not going to be acting crazy under her. She was going to nurture them and teach them the right way. So, you had a village in Miss Helen Curtis. And I appreciate all the other community people that are here. I hope you learned some things today. You thought. I hope you learned from Judge Stearns, Judge Selvat, and Reverend Moody. And we're going to continue to learn things. Gentlemen, I'm glad we just couldn't cover a whole lot, but we started on time, we're going to end on time. And I hope you got your thirst was filled with knowledge today.
I know we're gonna talk, everybody probably gonna wanna take pictures, Bobby, so I think maybe in order is that they stay on stage and we'll do a line if somebody wants to take pictures, so we don't have a mad dash and,
Yes.
And respect our elderly. And
Yes.
I wanna say there's been a lot of nuggets, and they gave you a lot of nuggets for books, and we need to make sure we're building our own libraries. That's why we have royalty breeds. We call ourselves kings and queens and princes and princesses, but in my research, kings, queens, princes, and princesses, they all built their own library. So, and I learned that in a junior literature book when I was helping my son. So, it is important to read. There's a lot of nuggets in those books. And so that's why I came up with royalty reads. So thank you very much. So,
And if you want a book, please pass on the Doc Bookshop. Tell them to come in. They can order any type of books and just browse in, and you will see books that you won't see in some other bookstores. These ladies carry those books. And they have reading programs, reading with kids. Look at some of the things that are on their agenda. Go to their website. They have so many. They have comedy night. They do poetry. They do sessions talking about religion. Different groups come. This is a hub. And then today we did elders speak. We'll be doing it in the future. I'm going to have an all one female panel, and then we're going to mix it up. And actually, we're going to really mix it up because we may bring in a teenager. So they'll be up here. So we'll get the virgin from bridging the gap. And we got to keep doing it. Thank you so very much. And like Danya said, you can come up if you want to take a picture, because this is a legendary picture. You're not going to find them. And you up close and personal. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I'm Bobby Edmonds. We'll be doing some more things. We always go to the schools to try to encourage, motivate, uplift those students, even those students that may have difficulty. So if they don't see us there, they don't know how far they can go. All right. So God bless you, and come take your pictures. All right. Thank you.
All right, that was good.
Yes, sir. Shake your hand.
Sorry, that was good.
Okay.
And that's an attorney.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right now, personally. I didn't talk with you, man.
Oh, no, you're student. Oh.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah. One more. All right. Somebody else. Wonderful. You got me here. All right. Wonderful. Oh, yeah.
You get him? That baby. One, two, three.
All right. Thank you, thank you. Be careful, be careful. Yes, oh, you can. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Okay, just have it. She wants to take her all up here.
Okay.
I'm like, here we go. Okay.
You're not related to you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Oh, I didn't know you were in the audience. No, Not you. Yes. Yes. Dr. Morrison, this is a great educator, trustee, 50 years with Carroll County College.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Come on up, man. Come on up. All right. All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that was your camera.
Maybe you can if they need them up there.
Okay, come on, we're gonna do it here.
Back in with it?
Okay, and then I wanna tell you something, then Latrice is up there. All right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, she doing it. And this is right there. In the trees, man. You gotta be in the picture. Yeah. Come on, let's read this. Okay. All right. This Harriet. There she comes. Miss Marie, come on up. Oh, man, that's so great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stand by your husband right there. Come on in there. Right in here. Stand right in there. Look at that. Oh, look, we gonna have all the family. Don't stand by us. Oh, this is wonderful.
Let me get behind somebody short.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Martin.
Make sure you see Judge Stern.
I feel my own. One more sauce.
Right.
One more. All right.
Okay.
Thank you for coming too.
So much.
Yeah, yeah. It was. Thank
Yes, ma'am. Good to be here. I want to meet you. You're part of this bookstore.
Oh, no, sir. I want to get
I know you know the judge. You're an attorney. aren't
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Oh, man. Yeah. Jan, you big baseball. No, I didn't. I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Downtown, it's got two. That other used to be a first one with a blinking light, now it's a red light and stuff. And it's only two now, but in the other part, it's really the giant. They got little lights.
Well, your husband's over there.
Yeah.
Get the front of you be showing the thing.
in the middle, but in yeah, and I'm glad you learned something. Okay.
Right.
Oh. Two, three. Yes. Second one, 1, 4. Okay, right there. 1, 1, 4. Seven, 1, 1, 4. Yes, ma'am, that's it. And then no, you are going to. And I'll text you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, it's done. Do you employ? I do. They are.
All right, thank you. Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I promise. They won't sign it.
You eat the lights.